the desert. The state of Arizona, to be precise, the home of the Arizona Cardinals. Today, the Cardinals at 1-4 take on the visiting 4-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. Whenever the Steelers go on the road, they're guaranteed to bring a crowd, and it's no exception here today, no matter how strangely they're dressed. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Greg Gumbel along with my Hall of Fame partner, Dan Deerdorf. When we first saw this game on the schedule, Dan, we talked about the possibility of this being a trap game for the Pittsburgh Steelers because they've got a couple of tough ones down the road. Head coach Mike Tomlin debunked that when we spoke with him last night.
He said, what reason would we have to be cocky? We haven't played one good game on the road yet this season. He's been riding them hard, and let's face it, they're going to come up against a very testy and angry Cardinals team that's lost 4 in a row.
Now, part of the reason for that inconsistency on the part of the Steelers, they have not been the healthiest team around.
No, once again, you don't start a Steelers game without talking about who's sitting this one out. Aaron Smith, he just can't get healthy. They put him on injured reserve yesterday. James Harrison is still out. Casey Hampton is still out. Steve McClendon starts at nose tackle. He's their third nose tackle because Chris Hoke is out. Good news is, though, that Troy Polamalu will start and play today. He appears to be just A-okay.
And Pittsburgh defenders will be important because they're going up against one of the better running backs in the NFL today.
Beanie Wells is a load, to put it simply. 235 pounds, physical. He operates behind an offensive line that is better at run blocking than they are pass blocking. It's hard for me to imagine a scenario where the Cardinals win this game today without Beanie having a big one.
It is a beautiful day inside and out. Outdoors, the temperature is 91 degrees, but with the roof closed in here, it is a very comfortable 72. The Arizona Cardinals have won the toss and will receive. That is LaRon Stevens howling. Deep for the Cardinals. Getting set to kick it away for Pittsburgh is Sean Sweezen. This is a lively crowd on both sides of the field. The Steeler fans waving their terrible towels.
I'll never get used to how many people the Steelers travel. They have fans in every part of this country, and I know it's got to be a little demoralizing for the Cardinals and their fans here that there are so many people waving terrible towels.
Sweezen is ready, and we're underway. Stevens howling. Going to get nailed before he reaches the 15-yard line. A year ago, Kevin Cobb was a Philadelphia Eagle. Now he is in charge of the Arizona offense, trying to get on track with the rest of this team. 5 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. And Dan, as we have discussed all this week, he's still a relatively inexperienced quarterback.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Greg. I think today is like his 13th start ever in the National Football League. So he doesn't even have a full season of starting to his credit. A new system, new coaches, no off season in which to work on it. It's still very much a work in progress.
This is Beanie Wells. Out across the 15 to about the 16-yard line. The veteran of a young offensive line is right guard Rex Hadnot, now in his 8th season out of the University of Houston. The backs and receivers include Larry Fitzgerald, only in his 8th year already, the franchise leader in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. Noteworthy, too, that Todd Heap is inactive today. The fine tight end, Jeff King, starts in his place. On 2nd and 7, once again it is Wells, and Wells brought to a stop at about the 19-yard line. For Pittsburgh on defense up front, veteran Aaron Smith gone for the season. Ziggy Hood in his 3rd year, now the starter at defensive end. At linebacker, James Harrison still figures to be out a couple more weeks. Lamar Woodley stepping it up, the team's sack leader with 5. In the secondary, Ike Taylor always gets the tough assignment. He'll be the one trying to keep Larry Fitzgerald in check today. And Troy Polamalu, no concussion problems, passed every test, is in the lineup today. 3rd and 4. Cobb throws for the first time today, and across the 25 to the 27-yard line, Rob Hausler The third-round draft pick out of Florida Atlantic, and that's good for a first down.
And if you're a Cardinals fan, you better get used to talking about Rob Hosler. This rookie, their third-round draft choice, has got oodles of talent and tremendous speed for a big guy. 250 pounds, and he sneaks up on people in the secondary. Ike Taylor, he didn't even know his name, but he said, man, we're concerned about 84. What's his name? People are going to figure it out.
New set of downs for Cobb. From the shotgun, under pressure, over the middle, and attempted, intercepted. Picked off at the 40-yard line by Ryan Clark. The Steelers have hardly been getting their share of turnovers, but they get one here early.
Well, right off the bat, Dick LeBeau surprises Kevin Cobb with a blitz off the edge, and it's going to come from Cobb's left. And you can see it's Lawrence Timmons who's unblocked and trying to fall backwards and not able to put much on it is Kevin Cobb, and the ball ends up getting deflected and intercepted. Looked like it bounced off of one of his own guys.
And now the Steelers take over at the Arizona 31. This is Mendenhall. Can't get outside, lost yardage. Back to the 36-yard line. Familiar name and number at quarterback for the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger appears to have weathered the worst of a bruised and sprained left foot. Feeling better, playing well, completing 62% of his throws. Loss of 5 on that last play. It's 2nd and 15. Quick pass to the near side, complete to Antonio Brown, and Brown to about the 20, and that'll be enough for a first down.
Well, you could see that the Cardinals were going to bring pressure, and here comes the 5th rusher up the middle, so Ben gets rid of it quickly, and the quick screen over there, and Antonio Brown, he's so good in the field once he's got the ball under his arm. He's one of the league's better return men. That's a great play design, and Ken Whisen up there, the head coach of the Cardinals, he knows what Antonio Brown can do. He is so dangerous out in the open.
Mendenhall now the only one in the backfield behind Roethlisberger. First down. It's Mendenhall, and he gets grabbed and a penalty marker flies.
Well, that was a great job of timing the blitz by Adrian Wilson.
Face mask, 24.
But he got the face mask in the process.
Automatic first down.
Our referee today is John Perry, and he called it right away.
Well, that's the way you attack the line of scrimmage. And Adrian Wilson, a huge physical safety. You see him come right in there, go right through the lead blocker. Does everything right up to the end. He went right through Hines Ward. You know, we'd like to look at that maybe from another angle. Did he really grab the face mask? It's not a review of the play, obviously, but it's going to stand.
First down for the change. Movement up front, penalty markers fly.
False start. Number 82, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Here's that play again.
Yeah, let's go back and take a look at from the left there. Here comes the blitz, and great job by Wilson of getting in there. It looked like he had his arm underneath Mendenhall. Well, he may have, yeah. It looked like he had it and then let go, but he had it long enough to twist the head. And when the head twists, that's going to bring the flag.
First and 15. Mendenhall. Almost back to the original line of scrimmage. It's been an injury-riddled season on the Pittsburgh offensive line. They get a healthier lineman this week in Chris Kemoeatu, who returns at left guard. And the backs and receivers and the biggest deep threat in football, Mike Wallace, blazing speed in his 3rd year out of Mississippi.
Yeah, once again, we've got a shuffle on the Steelers' offensive line. Doug Legursky dislocated a toe last week. He's inactive. So again, it's just next man up. It's been a mantra for the Steelers so far.
Pittsburgh has been outstanding in the red zone the past 2 weeks. Roethlisberger wide open, touchdown, Heath Miller.
Well, Clark Higgins is the closest Cardinal defender, and you can see right there he gets picked off. He's looking into the backfield, and there's some contact, but I don't know if he was to maintain primary coverage on Heath Miller.
But he didn't.
But he didn't, and that was just way too easy.
Reason's extra point is good. 4 times now in the last 5 weeks, the Steelers score on their first possession. Ben Roethlisberger, touchdown pass, 7-0 Steelers. Heath Miller on the receiving end of a 12-yard touchdown pass from Ben Roethlisberger as Pittsburgh takes advantage of the early turnover and leads it by a score of 7-0. Rod Stevens howling, not going to run this one out of the end zone. And when we come back, Kevin Cobb and the offense back at it as we continue from Arizona.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Sprint. All football, no limits. Only from Sprint. And by Pizza Hut, where we're big fans of delicious pizza deals. Only at your Pizza Hut.
Welcome back, everyone. Cardinals back on offense. Kevin Cobb back to work after throwing an interception on the first possession. This is Wells. Back to the line of scrimmage and no more. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Well, Heath Miller lines up right here at the tight end position, and he's just going to go up here. But watch this guy right here, Clark Higgins, the linebacker. He's going to make some contact right there with Hines Ward. But after contact, that is a linebacker who's playing zone. He was expecting over-the-top help on the deep outside from a safety, and he didn't get it. If he had man coverage there on Heath Miller, he would have turned and tried to run with him. He didn't. He played zone coverage. That's just a mental error in the Cardinals secondary.
Cobb throwing on the slant. That's complete across the 30 out to the 35 is DeMarco Sampson. But Kevin Cobb has had interception woes.
Yeah, and again, it's a new system, but you can see right there, there's a pass deflected against the Redskins. They come up with it. Now that one he threw right to the Seattle defender. Against the Giants, he didn't see the safety coming over that makes the play. And then before they're by, Minnesota picks him off. And again, another deflection as he's trying to get the ball again to Rob Hausler, his tight end.
First down for the 35. Cobb got rid of it. Hausler dropped it. It'll be 2nd and 10. This Arizona team has had first quarter woes the last 2 games. They have been outscored 35-0.
And they've had a bye week, and they've had extra time to kind of stew in their own juices, so to speak, after a 4-game losing streak. That is, you know, you spend all your time in the offseason trying to get ready for the start of the season. You do the work. You don't ever envision getting off to a 1-4 start. Nobody plays out that scenario.
2nd and 10. This is Wells, and Wells for maybe a yard or so. Brett Kiesel with the stop. You can see Kevin Cobb. His first 2 games were great, but there's been more to the season than the first 2 games.
And 2 of those were still close losses to the Giants and to Seattle. They did get blown out right before the bye by the Vikings. That was horrific. Down 28-0 at the end of the first quarter.
3rd and 8. Here come the Steelers. Cobb over the middle. Almost intercepted by Polamalu.
Well, Ike Taylor's got the coverage on Larry Fitzgerald, and Troy Polamalu is just playing in center field. One of the rare instances you'll see him sitting back and actually playing the deep safety position. And Troy Polamalu, one of the more sure-handed defensive backs in the NFL. And that almost defies description that he would drop one to hit him right in the chest.
Antonio Brown deep for the upcoming kick.
Polamalu is not one of those DBs you can't catch.
Chases him all the way back to his own 7-yard line. Gets running room up the middle across the 20 to about the 22, 23-yard line. That's where the Steelers will go to work on offense when we come back. Hey, Thursday on CBS, stopping a crime before it happens isn't easy unless you have the right connections. Michael Emerson and Jim Caviezel star in a new Person of Interest Thursday, only CBS. Pittsburgh head coach Mike Tomlin, you take a look at that. In first quarters, that's a nice way to get off to a start in a football game.
Well, especially here on the road. And again, they've got games coming up back at home against New England and Baltimore. And you look at this and you wonder what's going to be the level of their focus coming into this.
Roethlisberger, short drop, had it tipped, and it falls incomplete. Clark Higgins got a hand on it.
Well, both of the outside linebackers for the Cardinals are former Pittsburgh Steelers that Ben Roethlisberger knows pretty well. Clark Higgins right there who got that tip. Joey Porter on the other side. A lot of good football played by Higgins and Porter for the Steelers.
And not just in and out either. No. Each of them played 8 solid seasons in Steeler uniform.
Yeah, and they're getting a little gray in the beard. They're both 34.
3 tight end. This one to this side and behind Mike Wallace.
Well, that's a case right there where Ben was expecting Wallace to abbreviate his pattern, really sell the go route, but then come back and pedal her down so that you could take a back shoulder throw. Ben threw for the back shoulder, and Mike Wallace kept streaking downfield.
3rd and 10, and Isaac Redmond into the backfield. Roethlisberger, penalty marker down in the backfield. He throws it down the field. It's incomplete.
Now this will almost certainly be holding against Pittsburgh. Oh, going to have a face mask. One of the offensive linemen grabbed a face mask. The officials are really doing a pretty good job of monitoring the offensive linemen who get their hands in the other guy's face.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Holding, defense, number 27. Personal foul, face mask, number 69. Those penalties will offset. Will replay. 3rd down.
Well, cornerback Michael Adams was guilty on the defensive side, and Jamon Meredith, a reserve lineman, seeing action on that play on offense. So we'll repeat 3rd and 10.
Hey, 4 down. 51. 4 down, 51.
Roethlisberger over the middle and wide open across the 35 is Antonio Brown for a 1st down.
Well, as a receiver, you always look for a soft spot in the zone. You just don't expect to find a soft spot as big as the one Antonio Brown finds right here. I'm not sure we'll have another Cardinal in the picture as he slides in to make that catch. There was one 5 yards in front of him, one 5 yards behind him. That's kind of open.
Hines Ward told us Antonio Brown has all the talent you need at that position. He just needs the experience. On first down is Mendenhall. And Mendenhall out to about the 44. Darnell Dockett with the stop.
One of the issues that the Steelers know this when they watch the tape is that the Cardinals are dealing with a new defensive system as well. Ray Horton, a new defensive coordinator, has brought in, he's a disciple of Dick LeBeau, so he's actually bringing in the same defense that the guys from Pittsburgh are playing. It's just they haven't had the time to implement it. They acknowledge they only have like 30% of it in, and there are going to be some mistakes, and we've seen some already, wide open guys.
There is Ray Horton, defensive coordinator. 2nd and 4. Roethlisberger with time. Lots of time, and now flips it out here to this side, and it's Heath Miller, and Miller across to midfield for a first down. And a little turf.
Yeah, it's a natural grass field here, and Heath Miller is wearing some of it in his face mask. Look at Ben try to clear it up. What is that? My peripheral vision there.
Mother Earth.
That is. He's got a little terra firma on there. Now that's old-fashioned football. And these are two of the oldest franchises in the National Football League.
No, y'all do fine.
Yeah.
Black on!
Mendenhall again, and he'll lose a yard.
Yeah, take a look at this. That's the Cardinals coaching staff, and look at the Steeler connections all the way down the line. The top two, especially with Russ Grimm and Ken Wisenhunt. Mike Miller, the new offensive coordinator. Ray Horton for years worked under Dick LeBeau, and Deshae Townsend. This is his first year in coaching. But Townsend, he was with the Steelers for 12 years. Hines Ward, it was his roommate. He goes, he knows every single trick I have. I have nothing that Deshae Townsend doesn't know about.
He was a staple on the lineup chart. Roethlisberger pulls it down. He eludes a tackler and throws over the middle, and he hits Hines Ward.
Oh, and there comes a late flag.
After the play, personal foul. Late hit on the offense, number 68. The down will count. 3rd down, 15-yard penalty.
That's Chris Kemoeatu, so that'll eliminate that game.
And there's Kemoeatu coming in right there. And that is, the play is way over. And the NFL just doesn't tolerate offensive linemen coming in and trying to clean somebody off the pile like that, especially spearing them with your helmet on the way in.
Well, Kemoeatu only lists at 344.
Yeah, that's man, I'm hard pressed to imagine that he was thinking when he did that. That's no way that's going to go undetected.
So now it's a 3rd and 18 for the Steelers. Roethlisberger on the slant, got his man Antonio Brown, and that'll be about 3 yards short of a first down, I said.
Yeah, you're almost asking Antonio Brown to break the tackle if you're going to pick up the first down, because the completion itself actually comes about 5 yards short of the first down. And that time it was pretty good coverage by A.J. Jefferson. He knew he had a little ground to give without moving the sticks.
Patrick Peterson deep for the punt coming from Daniel Sepulveda. And we'll let this one bounce at the 5. Takes a Steeler bounce, and it'll come to rest at about the 6 or 7 yard line. Kevin Cobb in the Arizona offense in a hole. Starting on offense when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the 2011 GMC Sierra. This truck month, there is no better time to trade up to the best Sierra. And by Allstate. Dollar for dollar, nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate.
We welcome you back, everyone. 2:53 to play here in the first quarter. And this is Beanie Wells out to about the 10-yard line. Hey, get the edge you need to win your fantasy league. Interactive tools, award-winning player rankings, and expert chats throughout the week at cbssports.com/fantasy news.
Well, the Cardinals have got to try to establish Beanie Wells and a ground game. This is an offensive line that if it comes to pass protection all day long, they're going to be at a disadvantage. They're pretty good run blockers. But against the Pittsburgh pressure, I don't think they can hold up for 60 minutes.
Going to go deep down the sideline. It is complete to Larry Fitzgerald.
I think Larry Fitzgerald was looking for a flag after he got hit out of bounds after the play was over. But this is how you concentrate on the football. Look at Ike Taylor right there with him. I mean, Ike Taylor's got to be going, how could I possibly give up a completion with coverage like this? Ike didn't locate the football until the last second, but right there, Ryan Clark comes in. Once he's on the ground, Ryan Clark comes in and delivers a hit that was really close to deserving a flag.
Cobb up the seam, got his man out of the backfield, Anthony Sherman, the rookie out of University of Connecticut. And that's a first down at the Pittsburgh 44.
Well, Greg, we go back to that completion of Larry Fitzgerald. That's a classic case of even when he's covered, he's open. Because, Ike Taylor right now, I'm sure Ike is still going, are you kidding me? How can I be on a guy that tightly and he still gets it?
And by the way, knowing Ike Taylor, he's very upset.
Got that right.
LaRod Stevens howling in the backfield. And the pass is to him out of the backfield and inside the 40. We get a penalty flag.
Pass interference, offense, number 11, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald giveth and taketh away.
Boy, just when the Cardinal offense was starting to just have a little rhythm for the first time, you could see that they were actually, popping in and out of the huddle and getting to the line and some positive plays.
Now, most, if not all of this day, he's going up against one of the more physical corners in the NFL.
Well, no, 24 and 11 will seldom be more than inches apart. Here comes Ike Taylor and Larry Fitzgerald to this side. That's what Ike Taylor does. He takes on the A receiver from the other team.
First and 20. Cobb.
That's just great coverage by Ike Taylor.
You wonder why Kevin Cobb threw that ball, because Taylor was between him and his receiver, and now we get a flag?
Well, I don't know how this could be, because I'm just looking at this coverage by Ike Taylor. And, he's got his hand there, but he's not really. He's not playing the football.
Pass interference, defense, number 24.
Well, I've never seen an interference call come in that late, and neither's Mike Tomlin. I don't believe I have ever seen a pass interference call come in after a debate, after a huddle from the officials. That was good physical coverage. Yes, it was. He wasn't moving Fitzgerald's body. On one hand, I could argue that it's good coverage. On the other hand, you could say, well, it was so borderline, maybe it deserved the call.
From the 44, this is Beanie Wells, and Wells is going to lose yardage on the play. Steve McClendon getting the start at nose tackle. And that looks like it will be the last play of this first quarter. So after a rough start, the Cardinals have managed to pull the reins in. It's a 7-0 Pittsburgh lead. And we'll return to University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. After this, you're watching the NFL.
This is the end.
CBS.
First quarter.
Except for the scoreboard, things couldn't get much more even between these two teams in the first quarter. Each team had 5 first downs. Each ran 13 plays. Each rushed for 9 yards.
Well, the difference is at the quarterback position. One of the quarterbacks has a touchdown pass. The other one has an interception.
So Cobb starts the second quarter with a 2nd and 11 at the 45.
Ready? I got you. 188.
Cobb on the move, looking, throwing it away. It'll be 3rd and 11. This is a reminder for you. Follow the NFL while on the go. The NFL mobile apps are all new for the 2011 season. To get the apps, go to NFL.com/mobile. There is no question, Dan, if the Cardinals are going to do anything today, they have to get Beanie Wells rolling. This is a guy who comes in averaging 95 yards a game on the ground.
And almost 5 yards a carry. That's, those are both impressive numbers, but I love a running back that's got somewhere in the mid to high 4s, and Beanie's got a 4.8 yards per carry. That's winning. That's winning football when you can run like that.
3rd and 11. Cobb goes down at his own 48-yard line. Lamar Woodley with his 6th sack of the season.
And Woodley, the fans were on him a little bit. It got off to a bit of a slow start in terms of sacks, but he's always been a streak sack guy. I mean, when he gets them in bunches, and he just kept fighting and working. And you're right, that's number 6 on the season. He's on his way to another double-digit year.
Dave Zastudil to kick. Antonio Brown deep. Fair catch called for and made at the 5-yard line. So it's the Steelers starting in a hole. 14-19 play in the first half. Pittsburgh by 7. Up above, MetLife blimp covering the stadium, which covers our game today.
Well, congratulations to everyone out here. They've been awarded a Super Bowl. I think they're going to have Super Bowl 49 back here in the Valley of the Sun.
On first down, Isaac Redmond spinning for about 5 yards out to the 10-yard line. Not bad for a guy who's still in the recovery mode from a sore foot, huh?
Well, you really, and really the way his season started, he was a turnover machine between interceptions and fumbling the ball and losing the fumbles. But Ben, he wasn't rattled. I remember talking to him about a month ago. He's like, hey, it's early, don't worry. Everything, no mechanical problems. Everything will shake itself out just fine.
Roethlisberger running out of time, throws complete. This is Redmond, and Redmond out to the 20-yard line. That'll be enough for a first down.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger, he knows a little something about the Cardinals and Super Bowls. James Harrison with that 100-yard return, and it looked like Larry Fitzgerald had won the game for the Cardinals, and then of course that unbelievable catch by Santonio Holmes, a 27-23 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is the first, they've met in the preseason, but this is the first real football game these two teams have played since.
This is Redmond for about 5. Redmond switching off with Rashard Mendenhall, who tore it up last week against Jacksonville with 146 yards on the ground. Today he's carried 5 times for just 3 yards. Dan, you said that win by the Steelers last week was ideal for a coach.
Yes, it was, because it was a win, but yet they played so poorly in the second half. It gave Mike Tomlin a chance to work them extra hard and remind them that, hey, you're not on cruise control.
Redmond.
Oh, nice play there.
Can't escape Darrell Washington.
Darrell Washington, in this veteran group of linebackers, he's the lone youngster, just a second-year player, and he is such a bright spot. There he is, knifing right in through the middle linebacker position, and Marquise Pouncey is going to try to get out there on him, but good instincts, Look how square he is, keeps his shoulders square, and then wraps up. A lost start in tackling, wrapping up.
Mweldy Moore now in on 3rd and 5 for Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger gonna loft this one up for Wallace. Incomplete off his fingertips.
Well, the Cardinals have young corners, and that's one of them right there, Patrick Peterson, number 21. And Ben Roethlisberger telling us young corners are cocky. They don't believe that somebody could run past them. And Mike Wallace can run by anybody, but initially that was pretty good coverage by Peterson.
This is Peterson making the fair catch call and pulling it in at about the 41-yard line, and we have a penalty marker back upfield. This has been a yellow butterfly day so far, Dan.
There have been more than
A few.
necessary. And the officials are talking this over. That was a really good job by Patrick Peterson of covering a lot of ground to
During
catch
the
that
kick,
point.
holding, return team, number 56. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick. Timeout on the field.
That penalty is against linebacker Reggie Walker, holding. It'll back the Cardinals up, but they'll have the football when we come back. .11 minutes, 17 seconds to play in the first half. Arizona on the short end of a 7-0 score starts from its own 30. Knocked down. While we have a moment tonight on CBS, travel to Bangkok, where it's 4th and long for the former NFL star and his wife. Don't miss a new amazing race tonight. Only CBS.
Well, you see the Cardinals there go to the air on first down and pick up about 2 yards. But Beanie Wells, 6 carries in this game so far for a grand total of 9 yards. That is not a recipe for success for the guys in red.
5-1.
Caught from the shotgun. That one's complete to the near side of the field, and once again early Doucette with the catch. And that will be real close to a first down. Yes. And it is a first down. One of the more interesting notes of this day so far, Dan, Tim Tebow comes up a winner in his debut at quarterback.
And at one time in that game, his statistics were just awful, and the Broncos were shut out. That must have been some fourth quarter comeback they put on the Dolphins. And talk about a team that's reeling. Hey.
This is Beanie Wells. Inside the Pittsburgh 45 to the 43. And another first down.
That's just what Ryan Clark, that's just what he doesn't want to see. That's Beanie Wells getting to the second level. And a great job by Sherman, his fullback, bringing him in there. But Ryan Clark, he has to go low. And the Steelers defensive backs were showing a movie this week called Exploding Helmets, starring Beanie Wells, who's put some punishing hits on some DBs.
Mike Tomlin said just making them aware of what he can do. This is Wells again. Inside the 40-yard line. This is what Beanie Wells can do.
Well, yeah, and Tomlin showed him this movie on Wednesday. Check this out. That is Cedric Griffin of the Vikings. And luckily his head wasn't in that helmet when it went downfield. But Beanie Wells is a tough guy. And he puts his shoulder down. When you talk about finishing a run, he can finish a run.
6'2", 230 out of Ohio State. Cobb down the middle of the field, and he just missed it. He missed the rookie, Rob Hausler.
Boy, and those are the kind of things that when you are struggling, they just seem to happen to you more often than the other guy. Because this is a perfect post pattern into this defense, a little double move, and Hausler has a touchdown. He's got a touchdown. If Cobb can find him in stride, you don't get many of those, and especially against a Dick LeBeau Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Talk about a missed opportunity.
I got 94.
3rd and 5. Cobb throwing. Incomplete. Larry Fitzgerald covered by Ike Taylor.
And Kevin Cobb is pleading his case that Ike Taylor mugged Larry Fitzgerald. Let's check it out. This is a matchup we'll be watching all day. Well, now now I don't know how Ike Taylor got away with running that far with his hand all over Larry Fitzgerald. Boy, Ike Taylor is pushing it to he's pushing that envelope to the very edge.
Saskatoon. Inside the 10, and they're going to down it inside the 10-yard line. 8:21 to play. First half. Ben Roethlisberger has one touchdown pass. Going looking for more after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx. FedEx does more than shipping. FedEx, solutions that matter. E-Trade, investing unleashed. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Here in Phoenix, they have a ring of honor, and one of the greats in Cardinal history is my friend and partner, Dan Theodore.
That was I.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
We get whistles and a false start. And by the way, part of the real treat.
Number 85. Offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Working with you are the notables who stopped in to say hello to you. And when Larry Wilson walked in here a short while ago before kickoff, I used to watch him as a kid in Chicago when he was a member of the Chicago Cardinals.
Well, the originator of the safety, not that guy, but Larry Wilson we're talking about, the great number 8. The first safety that blitzed. Chuck Drulis was the defensive coordinator who put that in. Part of NFL history. Wilson's pretty good, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. 1st and 15 now for Roethlisberger. And the throw for it, gonna go deep. Mike Wallace is open. He got him. Wallace, touchdown.
Yesterday, when we met with the Steelers, I said to Mike Wallace, is there any DB in the NFL that you can't run behind and run past? And he said, no. Here is proof. And even after being right there, even had to alter his stance and change his stride, still could shift back into that high gear. Unbelievable. The fastest guy in the National Football League. Mike Wallace.
5th touchdown catch of the season. The extra point is good. It is a 14-0 Steeler lead. Boy, that's getting out of a hole. 95 yards, as we said at the top of the day. Number 17 on the left of your screen. Grew up admiring the likes of Randy Moss and T.O.
He is a personable young man, isn't he, Greg? I mean, he's just fun to talk to.
This is Stevens howling from the goal line. Hit hard at the 20-yard line and bounced back. But forward progress will be marked at the 20-yard line. Ben Roethlisberger launching a bomb and knew it was good as soon as it was caught.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The One, The Accord, from Honda. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
.803 to play in the first half, and Mike Wallace all smiles. Dan, I remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking to Ben Roethlisberger, and he freely admitted that there are times he had thought he had overthrown Mike Wallace.
Yeah, almost impossibility. Nearly impossible.
So now it's a 14-point deficit for the Cardinals, and Kevin Cobb back to work. Gonna run it. Has a first down over the 30 to about the 31-yard line. Let's go back to that touchdown play.
Well, Richard Marshall is the corner. Here he is, right? But watch this. The play action from Ben. He's going to take a hop all the way up to the 10-yard line. That is going the wrong direction. And when Mike Wallace is going to run a go pattern, Richard Marshall never had a chance. And Rashad Johnson, a good effort coming over from safety, but no possibility. The little play action from Ben sold it to Marshall, who was peeking in the backfield.
This is Beanie Wells, and Wells across the 35 to about the 37. Not an insignificant pass either from Ben Roethlisberger,
No.
the longest pass play in Pittsburgh Steeler history.
Well, you just had a feeling that when it comes to long pass plays, whatever records there are in the Steeler record books, that number 17 is going to be involved in them before he retires. I mean, we can't overstate his speed. It doesn't come along very often. Davis have liked the guy.
This is Beanie Wells again. No place to go.
Well, he went down at the right time because he saw Ryan Clark coming. And again, that handoff didn't look textbook.
Ah, he lost it.
Yep. That play was over there. I mean, he did the right thing. Don't keep running. Secure the football and get it put away. If that means a negative play, it's a negative play. But don't put it on the ground.
You have to feel a first down here would be really important to these Arizona Cardinals.
I got a heavy.
And we're going to get a timeout. 6:02 on the clock.
This is the first. Charge timeout.
Mike Tomlin, the personable and able head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who told us we saw them a couple of weeks ago, Dan, and Max Starks, who was only expected to play a certain number of downs, played the entire game out of necessity, and Mike Tomlin said had to give him a game ball for that.
He did. He recognized his effort. I think Max surprised everybody with how good shape he reported to camp and when they signed him. Not reported to camp, but when they signed him mid-season.
3rd and 2. Cobb. Crossing pattern, got his man, that's Fitzgerald, breaks free at the 45 across midfield into Steeler territory, and a first down for the Cardinals.
You know, in an era where some receivers catch the ball, they know they got the yardage for the first down, and they just drop to the ground like a quail going to cover. It's great to see a guy like Larry Fitzgerald fight for extra yardage, make people miss, become a football player, not just a wide receiver that moved the sticks and then dropped to the ground. That's great effort by a true superstar this game.
My duel. Tack.
Cobb near side, that is complete, and breaking away is Hausler. Hausler inside the 30 at the first down. This rookie goes 6'5", 250, and runs like the wind.
Well, he's a legitimate 4'5", 40 guy, which is awesome speed for a tight end. Now there is a really good throw right on the hands from Cobb. So, you know, once again, we've seen now the Cardinals are getting into a little rhythm. Now, last time they did this, they had an offensive interference call on Fitzgerald that backed them up.
This is Wells, and Wells to about the 26-yard line. Once again, Steve McClendon pressed into service at nose tackle in place of Casey Hampton and in place of Chris Hoke.
And he's making the first start of his career. He's a second-year player, but again, it's this Steelers team, they just cycle people in and out. Dick LeBeau told us when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, hey, I've gone right past plan B. I'm down to plan B or E.
This is a 54-yard drive. Second and 8, Cobb, quick pass right side off the fingertips of Andre Roberts.
But you know, those are just the little things where this passing game isn't here yet, because you got to put that football in a position where Roberts can make a play with it. It's got to be out in front of him, lead him away from the defender, let him be able to turn upfield. Instead, that pass was behind him. You know, it's little things, but little things are the difference between first downs and punting.
Now Cobb looking at a significant 3rd and 8. Play clock down to 2 to 1. Got it off in time. Protection. Now running out of it and throws it away.
Well, there's a flag downfield. There's a flag at about the 13-yard line.
There is no foul for intentional grounding as the quarterback was out of the pocket. Prior to the pass, illegal contact, defense, number 24, 5-yard penalty, and an automatic first down.
Well, they've got an illegal contact penalty against Ike Taylor, and that is going to give the Cardinals a first down. Boy, and that's, you got to try to take advantage of something like this.
Kevin Cobb was halfway off the field thinking his set of downs was over.
Well, we talked about the fact that Ike Taylor, who's locked up on Larry Fitzgerald, has been playing it. He is physical. He is all over him. I thought one time before he got away with a call. He got called on another one.
There's Beanie Wells. Wells up the middle to about the 16.
All right, let's see if we can get a look at this thing. They're coming from the right. Oh, that's well beyond the 5-yard. Oh, yeah, he's got the hand. And again, he's had his hands all over Larry Fitzgerald. And it's an illegal contact because the quarterback was still holding the football, and it was beyond the 5-yard zone, well beyond the 5-yard zone.
First visit to the red zone today for Arizona. Cobb throwing and underthrowing on the right side, Larry Fitzgerald.
Well, it's a good scheme, putting Fitzgerald in motion, letting him come all the way across the formation to try to get away from Ike Taylor. But Larry and Kevin were just nowhere near each other in the same page of on the same page of the playbook. Fitzgerald was wide open initially, and then he turned it up, and Cobb delivered it late.
So now it is 3rd and 5, and that's Arizona's red zone efficiency or lack thereof. Cobb on the move, throwing incomplete, and a penalty marker is down again. This early Doucette ended up on the turf.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 24, 5-yard penalty, and an automatic.
Boy, this is not Ike Taylor's day.
Well, it's pretty apparent the game plan that Ike Taylor brought here to Glendale, and it involves being extremely physical and getting my hands all over the receivers. Well, Ike, it might be time to shift. You might have to go to plan B if it's really truly on Ike Taylor. That's who John Perry identified.
In any event, it's an Arizona first down at the Pittsburgh 12. This is Alphonso Smith to the 10. And we are inside of 3 minutes for the first half. Beanie Wells being looked at on the bench.
Well, that's not anything other than bad news if it's something that's going to keep Beanie out of this game.
And we get a whistle and a timeout on the field. And we'll be back.
Here's Ike Taylor right here, but more importantly, here's Troy Polamalu. And that last penalty that they called on Taylor, Polamalu just levels early Doucette when the ball is on its way there. And while John Perry, the referee, identified Ike Taylor, I have to believe that that penalty was actually called on Troy Polamalu because he just knocked early Doucette into the next zip code when he was the intended receiver on the play.
You saw James Ferrier on the sideline. He was helped off of the ground, and he will sit out at least this play. Second and 8 from the 10. Possible to get a first down without a touchdown. Cobb inside the 5-yard line to the 1. Early Doucette will have a first and goal.
Well, that was a good, sharp rhythm. You know, Kevin Cobb's looking to his left, but a nice job by Doucette on a pass that was behind him. Again, this ball wasn't exactly where Cobb wanted it to be, and that is a sensational job by early Doucette of catching a football that was behind him instead of in front of him.
And with that, we come to the 2-minute warning here in Arizona. Pittsburgh up 14. Cardinals threatening. Not the best sight for Arizona fans. Beanie Wells, we are told, with a sprained knee, taking an early exit to the locker room. His right knee remains to be seen whether he will come back for the second half.
He already missed the Seattle game earlier this year with a hamstring issue.
First and goal, Arizona with all 3 of its timeouts remaining. This is Alfonso Smith. No touchdown.
And this is, you know, keep in mind now, this is a drive aided greatly by the Steelers on 2 separate penalties that gave automatic first downs to the Cardinals. And when you're this close to the end zone, it would be demoralizing to have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Anthony Sherman and Alfonso Smith in the backfield again. Smith. Touchdown. His first of the season.
A good surge off the left side of that offensive line. Darren College, the left guard, gets a good block. Levi Brown gets a good block. And again, Anthony Sherman, the rookie fullback, coming in here. Look at him identifying who to pick up. He goes right for Polamalu. And Smith goes right over the top of Larry Foote. That was a good surge by the Cardinals.
The extra point is good. And with 1:20 remaining, Arizona cuts the Steeler lead in half. It's 14-7. And reminder, coming up, the Sprint halftime report. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Sprint halftime report.
I would imagine Mike Tomlin at halftime is going to remind his guys that, you know what, last week when we played Jacksonville, we jumped out to a 17-0 lead in the first half. And oh, by the way, 17 points is all we scored the entire day. And they just eked one out against Jacksonville, 17-13. So the Steelers at times in this first half, wouldn't you agree, Greg, looked like they could have run away and hid in this thing. And instead, we've got a 1-score game.
And we were talking during the break. It felt like, although Arizona at the time was just down 7-0, it felt like they were much more in arrears than that.
I agree. It's going to be really interesting now to see whether Beanie Wells can come back and play in the second half. Because again, without his presence in the backfield, there's a certain amount of well, not just offensive proficiency, but there's a toughness that's missing. The way he's able to finish runs.
Isaac Redman, Antonio Brown are deep. And this is Antonio Brown running it out of the end zone to the 15. Breaks it outside and out to about the 25-yard line. Certainly the big highlight of this first half has been young Mr. Wallace, who's making a habit of this, Dan.
Well, no kidding. Let's go back and look at a few of them. We'll start in week 2 against the Seahawks. This one is good for 53 yards. Week 3 at the Colts. This one for 81. You see its theme here? Getting over the top against the Texans. That was 40. Then Tennessee, another 40-yarder. Jacksonville, that was 28. And then, of course, this bomb today for 95. You could put a cover 2 shell up against Mike Wallace. Corner short, safety over the top. He goes right by both of them.
A minute 14 to play. Here in the first half, Roethlisberger from the shotgun. Pump fake, over the middle, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Jericho Cotchery. It'll be second down. You know the funny thing about Mike Wallace, he doesn't lack for confidence. We asked him last night if there's maybe a reverse and a pass in the works, and he said no, but I have the best arm on the team.
Oh, he said I throw a better spiral than Ben. He said I throw the ball better than anybody on the team.
So we tried to confirm that with Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin said, "Oh, he's horrible."
Oh, and he says, Tomlin goes, he lobbies me to be the holder on extra points and field goals. He goes, imagine the new dimension we're going to bring to that.
Second and 10. Roethlisberger stepping up and throws and incomplete. Emmanuel Sanders broke free late.
You know, as a wide receiver, when Ben leaves the pocket and extends plays, it's difficult to decide what to do. You know, the conventional wisdom is, as a receiver, when your quarterback is scrambling, if he's coming your way, if you're covered, then you come towards him to try to make some. If you're a little more open, then you go deep and try to get out of there and give him a target, which is what happened there. He just overthrew Sanders.
Mike Wallace to the near side of the field at the bottom of your screen. There he is with Patrick Peterson. Roethlisberger on the move, over the middle, incomplete, intended for Brown.
Oh, there comes the flag.
Hines Ward.
Richard Marshall was there with Hines Ward.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 31. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Larry Fitzgerald is feeling it on the sideline.
Well, we saw Richard Marshall earlier with Mike Wallace. And again, that's just too much. You can't have that much contact. The ball's in the air. It's beyond 5 yards. Boy, these officials are having to work this first half with some very physical play by DBs that are going over the edge, over the top.
And by the way, when we talked to Hines Ward last night, Dan, did he not come off as the perfect teacher and mentor to all of these young receivers?
He said, I want to make Mike Wallace a complete receiver. And he's also then talking about what he's doing with Sanders and Brown as well.
First down from the 30. Roethlisberger incomplete. Antonio Brown, the intended receiver, stops the clock with 52 seconds to play.
Ooh, that was close. That was very close. This young receiving corps that Ben Roethlisberger has at his disposal, they are, let me tell you, they are just oozing talent. And then they've got the sage one right there, Hines Ward, as a mentor. But Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, oh boy. And then the sage with some group.
Over the middle, got his man out to midfield. Antonio Brown, first down, clock continues to move.
Great
All right,
pass
now
blocking.
stopped at 45.
Wonderful pass blocking. The defensive line gets snuffed. Ben's got all the time. And again, just a simple little, semi-slant. It's more of a slant than a crossing pattern. But perfect strike from Ben Roethlisberger. A.J. Jefferson is about a half a step behind. and you just try to get the ball into Antonio Brown's hands as much as you possibly can.
Sean Sweezum looking at the possibility of a field goal. His long for the season is 48.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about the wind, as we are indoors. It's pretty hot outside. It's in the 90s again today.
You complaining?
No, it's absolutely perfect in here. I'm thinking this is just A-OK.
Pittsburgh with one timeout remaining now. The ball at midfield.
Come on, man.
Here come the Cardinals after Roethlisberger. This side of the field incomplete, intended for Brown, and a penalty marker.
Oh, that's the rookie, Patrick Peterson, this time working on Antonio Brown. I got to tell you, when I first looked at that, it's...
Pass interference, defense, number 21. Contact without playing the ball. Automatic first down.
Well, you can see right there that, yep, Patrick Peterson is not playing the football. He doesn't know where it is. He's just playing the receiver, and he runs right into Antonio Brown. You are never going to get the benefit of the doubt without spinning that head around and playing the football.
41 seconds on the clock. Roethlisberger pulls it down, crossing pattern, got his man inside
Another
the 30.
flag.
That's Brown.
Another flag. This one thrown here on the near sideline. We're going to get holding on the Cardinals again.
You got to figure you're shooting yourself in the foot. Eventually, you're going to run out of bullets.
Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face. Defense, number 21. That penalty's been accepted. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Patrick Peterson is the first-round draft pick out of LSU with all the promise in the world, but this has not been a good sequence of plays for him.
Well, Greg Toller was supposed to be the starting corner this year, but he's out for the season with a knee injury. And this is a work in progress, learning on the job. And these are painful lessons here for Patrick Peterson. That is amazing that in one half, we've had a total of 7 penalties that have given an automatic first down. And the Cardinals have had 2 of them back to back.
Pittsburgh at the Arizona 31. They still have one timeout remaining. Underneath, inside the 25, is Hines Ward. Roethlisberger wants to spike this one.
And he's trying to save that final timeout. But that doesn't mean he's going to spike it just because he was signaling it. He did. But as a defender, you can't take that to heart.
16 seconds on the clock, and Pittsburgh still has that one timeout remaining.
I think we all know what that means. Well, the key to Ben stopping the clock by spiking the ball and keeping his one remaining timeout is that he can now use the whole football field on this play. You can use any part of it you want and still stop it to get a field goal try.
3rd and short. Moeldy Moore not going to get the first down.
Now that didn't fool Darrell Washington. Again, this young linebacker, he's bright. He's got a future. And look how that's a good read. He knifes right into the hole. And again, this kid wraps up. I love the way when he gets a chance on somebody, he ties up a leg and he brings them down. And the Steelers use that timeout to stop the clock with 3 seconds remaining to get the field goal unit on the field. And a reminder, coming up, the Sprint halftime report. JB, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher
All the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Sprint halftime report. They have some stuff to talk about.
It has been some day. That's not a category you'd like to be out front. Squeeze them with 4 misses already this year.
He will get this one away from about 41 yards out. As Pittsburgh looks for a 10-point lead to go to the locker room.
I bet he likes this a lot better than kicking at Heinz Field.
You got it. Yellow flags all the way down the field. And then the 41-yard field goal, and Pittsburgh leads it at halftime. The Steelers 17 and Arizona 7. Back with the Sprint halftime report after this message. And the word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Welcome you back to Glendale, Arizona, where just ahead of the start of the second half, it's a 17-7 Pittsburgh lead over the Arizona Cardinals. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf. You feel the urge to go out and buy a packet of yellow handkerchiefs?
Would we have a dozen penalties in the first half?
6 on each side.
Yeah, at least they spread it around, but it was, Pittsburgh isn't running the ball well at all. I mean, the Cardinals are doing some things right, but the penalties have kept drives alive, and of course they gave up the one big play.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the NFL Mobile Recap presented by Verizon. Dan.
Well, the play action sells it. We showed you earlier, the corner takes a jump up, and then it is nothing but the pure speed of Mike Wallace and a great throw from Ben Roethlisberger. But again, this speed of Mike Wallace when he gets over the top of corners and safeties, and then Ben delivered it right on the spot.
You see the Steelers have outscored their opponents 55-13 in the first half of their last 3 games. But as we were talking, Dan,
yes,
the Arizona Cardinals have not played badly on defense.
No, they have not. And Pittsburgh, especially last week, just didn't play well at all in the second half against Jacksonville, and allowed Jacksonville to get within 1 score. I mean, that was a much closer game than you would have thought.
This is Antonio Brown running it out of the end zone for the Steelers. Tripped up and across the 15 to about the 17-yard line by O'Brien Schofield, the second-year linebacker out of Wisconsin, as we take a look at some first-half numbers.
And again, this is a Pittsburgh team that likes to run the football. And you take a look at 17 rushing yards. Mendenhall's carried the ball 5 times for a grand total of 3 yards. But again, big plays will do it for you, and none bigger than that 95-yard touchdown by Mike Wallace.
Opening series of the second half. And Roethlisberger going to throw to start it off outside, and that's complete.
Oh, Ben got hit, and he's not exactly jumping up there. He takes a good one. I think Calais Campbell was the guy that actually got in there on him. Yep, right there you see Campbell, all 6 feet 8 inches of him, and Ben landed awkwardly, and that hurt.
Calais Campbell is a large young man, 6'8", 300 pounds.
Well, he led the Cardinals in sacks last year. Of course, Darnell Dockett is their best defensive lineman, but Calais Campbell he's a good young player, only in his 4th year.
Pass to this side of the field, and this is Antonio Brown, and Brown out of bounds at about the 33-yard line, and that'll be enough for a Pittsburgh first down.
Nicely designed play here by Bruce Arians, the offensive coordinator, because it's a sure completion. You get Heath Miller out in front. You got Hines Ward sealing the inside. So what do you got? You got Hines Ward, the best blocking wide receiver in football. Here comes Heath Miller, your big athletic tight end, So instead of a guard and a center coming out there, you got two great athletes out there leading the charge on that screen.
On first down, this is Mendenhall. Mendenhall breaks it to the outside to about the 39-yard line.
Well, that was a good job by Mendenhall of getting the corner. I didn't think he was going to get there. I thought initially when he bounced it to the outside that the Cardinals had contained, but they lost it. Take a look at this. This is Peterson is going to come up here 21, and instead of wrapping up, he just goes, you know, these kids coming out of college today, that is not how you tackle. That is not how you do it. That's how you try to block somebody, but you use your arms in attempting to make a tackle.
On second down, Mendenhall twists his way to the 40.
And I'm sure that Mike Tomlin and Arians are thinking, we got to get Mendenhall on track here. This is just, yeah, it was wonderful that 146 last week, but the 3 total yards at halftime.
And 10 total so far.
Yeah.
That's not in the game plan.
No, this entire offense revolves around Ben's play action passing and when you have to, being able to pound away at it.
3rd and 3. Roethlisberger, quick flip, incomplete. Broken up, intended for Hines Ward, and Adrian Wilson made the play.
Well, that's where practice pays off, because Adrian Wilson knew this was coming, and Ben's holding his right arm as he heads to the sideline, and Ward's limping a little bit, but Ben's not happy with the condition of his right arm. But this is Adrian Wilson. He reads this thing. Look at him close and times it perfectly, hitting Ward as soon as the ball gets there.
Patrick Peterson deep. Fair catch call for it, made it the 10-yard line. And Ben Roethlisberger nursing that right arm. We'll keep an eye on him as we take a timeout here in Arizona. Ben Roethlisberger on the sideline. What did this look like to you, Dan?
Well, when he goes down here, he's going to throw his right arm out to break his fall right there. And then he lands on his elbow. But when he gets up, you can see him start to shake it, and then he grabs his elbow as he walks away. So I'm not initially I thought it might have been like his funny bone, the way he was flexing his hand, but I didn't see it get hit the way you normally see it hitting something hard. I think anyone who's followed Ben over the years realizes he's okay.
Meanwhile, Arizona still without Beanie Wells, who left the game late in the first half with a sprained knee and has not returned to the field. Alfonso Smith is the deep back. This is Smith. Hole up the middle, across the 20, out to the 22, and a first down.
Oh, a nice hole up the middle. And we saw Hines limping when he came off the field, and there's Ward getting an external tape job over the top of his shoe. But look at the blocking up front by these guys. Big Levi Brown, and once again Anthony Sherman, the rookie fullback, doing a good job leading up in there. This is a pretty decent run blocking offensive line.
We'll try it again.
Hello, my name's Lamar Woodley. And you would be? Alfonso Smith. Mike, let's see if we can hear this hit by Woodley. Why, yes we can. You know, with James Harrison sitting it out on the other side, Mike Tomlin had a great line about Lamar Woodley having to step it up. He goes, well, sometimes Robin has to become Batman. And that's the pressure they're putting on Lamar Woodley.
Seems to be responding to it quite well. 2nd and 7. Cobb throwing, and that's complete across the 30 to the 35. Jeff King, the tight end.
Well, again, Todd Heap is missing this game again. He's been bothered by a hamstring. Hasn't practiced in a couple weeks, and it's King and Hausler, the two tight ends. There is Todd Heap after that wonderful career in Baltimore that's come back home. He's an Arizona native, and but that hamstring injury, again, those are tough to shake. You know, he would have loved to have played in this game the way he knows the Steelers, with those Steelers-Ravens rivalries over the years.
Cobb.
Oh, look out.
Can't get out of trouble. Penalty markers fly. That's Lamar Woodley.
Yeah, I think they're going to get Brandon Keith for holding Woodley on the way back, but I'm sure they'll decline that penalty with that much yardage being lost.
Holding, number 87. Offense. Penalty's been declined. Result of the play, second down.
The result of the play is Woodley's second sack of the day and 7th of the season.
Well, I incorrectly identified Brandon Keith. They're going to call it on Jeff King, the tight end, who was working on that side against Woodley as well.
So now it's a 2nd and 18 for Kevin Cobb. Cobb over the middle, got his man. That is Lerod Stevens hauling, and he's gone. No penalty markers. yards.
Well, it's a team game. You had a great pocket up front. Watch Cobb being able to step up into this pocket. Look at that. Look at the protection, and now he's going to get a block right there by Jeff King, the tight end. And King's block, he springs Stevens howling to go the distance. That was a team effort by the offense of the Cardinals.
Lerod Stevens howling in his third season out of Pittsburgh.
And Mike Tomlin's over there thinking, you know, I've seen this before. A 17-0 lead last week against Jacksonville. Ends up being a 17-13 game.
And Jay Feely makes it a three-point game. 9:26 to play in the third. The Cardinals climb back to within a field goal. Kevin Cobb with his 6th touchdown pass of the season.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Scottrade. See for yourself why so many investors are saying I'm with Scottrade. And by the 2011 Ford F-150, built Ford tough.
For the Arizona Cardinals, their last 2 drives have been impressive. An 80-yard touchdown drive and now an 89-yard drive.
And even with that 95-yard play to Mike Wallace, the Cardinals right now have outgained the Steelers in total yardage.
You know, Pittsburgh's pass defense allowed just 76 yards passing against Jacksonville last week. 73 on that last play alone. That one goes into and out of the end zone. We'll start from the 20-yard line. Ben Roethlisberger back to work after this. A little bit of a different mood here in the stadium. And Hines Ward leaves the field.
And he's got his right shoe undone.
From the 20-yard line, this is Mendenhall for about 3. Let's go back to the touchdown, Dan.
Yeah, a couple things to watch for on here, Greg. Here's Howling, he's right there in the middle. But here's King, who's going to get the big block down. But watch Troy Polamalu as well. Polamalu is untouched. And Stevens howling here. When he makes the catch, watch Polamalu. He just trips and falls. No one hits him, but that takes him out of the play. And that is just really unusual. You know, one of the best athletes in the NFL, you seldom see him out of a play because he just falls down.
Screen doesn't work. Let's get an update from our NFL Today studios in New York. JB and Coach Cowher.
All right, take a look. Boy, Kansas City all over the Raiders.
In the Wildcat, JB, Javier Arenas goes 7 yards in the Wildcat to go up 21-0, and then they replaced Kyle Buller, who threw 3 interceptions, and Carson Palmer in the game. His first series, 1 of 3, 18 yards, but they had to punt.
All right, back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deardorff.
All right, guys, so that little experiment didn't take long, did it?
No, it didn't.
3rd and 6. Roethlisberger, penalty markers down. That ball is caught by Heath Miller.
Yeah, Heath Miller working there against Darrell Washington, but there was a flag thrown in the secondary.
Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face. Defense. Number 27. Penalties declined. Result of the play. First down.
That's Michael Adams.
Well, it doesn't matter because Heath Miller picks up enough yardage. And again, it's just man coverage with Washington against one of the best route running tight ends in football. But what a perfect throw from Ben Roethlisberger. Let the big guy who's 6'5" go up and get it. Well done.
First down now from their own 45. Roethlisberger under pressure and goes down. Clark Hagens, the ex-Steeler.
Well, Clark Hagens has had a wonderful career in the National Football League. A lot of them with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And even though he gets held, he still is able to get in there and get the sack on Ben. And he was grabbed going around the corner and still fought through it. Another in the long line of guys who have played the outside linebacker position for the Steelers and played it extremely well.
Roethlisberger, short pop to Miller over the middle. First down and then some to the 40-yard line. Let's get another update from New York once again. JB and the coach.
Green Bay was trailing 17-10, Coach.
They are so explosive. His 3rd touchdown of the day, that's Aaron Rodgers. This one to Jermichael Finley. He's got 20 on the year. Now they're up 27-17.
10:29 left in the 3rd. Back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deardorff.
All right, guys, thank you.
It almost isn't fair how many weapons Aaron Rodgers has at his disposal. That is such a talented offensive football.
Even when they're on the short end of the scoreboard, you feel like it's only a matter of time.
They are almost like a video game.
On first down, Roethlisberger gonna go deep, far sideline. Intended for Antonio Brown.
And Antonio Brown, he looked like he had a step there on A.J. Jefferson. It looked like he was going to be able to separate and get to the football. And Jefferson, again, playing the receiver, but there he turns for the ball. And you can see right there, Jefferson extends his arm, but he's extending it towards the football. At the very last minute, once the ball goes by, then it goes and pulls down the arm of Antonio Brown, but not before. That's why he didn't get flagged for interference.
2nd and 10. Emmanuel Sanders. While we have a moment, where can you hear Steve Jobs talking about his amazing life? Only on 60 Minutes, his authorized biography tonight. Only CBS.
A truly fascinating man. Well, whether you were a fan of Apple or not, probably the single most important and innovative man America has seen since Henry Ford.
Do you know of anyone who doesn't have an Apple something or other?
Not my house.
3rd and 5. Outside. Oh, what a catch by Brown! And it is ruled a completion at the 22.
Well, he caught this in full stride as he snared it with his left hand. And you can see A.J. Jefferson arguing that he didn't get both feet down. There's one, there's two, there's three. Oh, that was what a catch by Antonio Brown. There's possession. He clearly got his feet in. Gee whiz, that was special.
Six catches for 90 yards for Brown.
We talked about how talented this young group of receivers is for Ben. They show it over and over.
Pittsburgh uses a timeout here.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Outback Steakhouse. It's always fresh in the Outback. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Just another look at this beautiful stadium from up above, and Hines Ward back onto the field, but looks hardly ready for action, although he might be getting prepped for it.
Well, the good news is they took him in for an x-ray, and they brought him back out, and they're getting ready to tape him back up, so that's some piece of good news.
Roethlisberger has thrown the ball on 7 straight plays. Make it 8. Inside the 10, to the 5, to the 3. Emmanuel Sanders. First and goal. And that's Paris Lennon.
Well, Paris Lennon actually had the coverage on Sanders across the middle. And Ben again afforded all sorts of time, delivers a perfect strike. Sanders takes it in stride, and you're going to watch from the right side. There comes Paris Lennon over the top. He'd been chasing Sanders all the way down the field.
Fourth pass of the day for Roethlisberger for 20 or more yards.
And this kitty core light it up.
Mendenhall stacked up at about the 4.
Well, he tripped over Ramon Foster, his right guard. He had a little bit of a crease in there where he might have gotten down there towards the goal line, but he tangles his legs up with his right guard. Watch, Mendenhall is going to want to make a cut right here, and right there he catches his right foot on the right ankle of Ramon Foster. And once the running back does that, it's tough to recover. 20, that's not a misprint. 26 total yards in the running game for the Steelers.
Roethlisberger throwing, touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders.
How can a guy that big make so many unblocked people missing? I mean, this is on Ben Roethlisberger staying alive. An unblocked player. Clark Higgins comes right at him. He makes him miss. And then, of course, as the receivers do for Pittsburgh, they just move. But watch this. This should be a sack. Higgins, I don't believe even got a finger on Ben Roethlisberger. Look, it's again, you hear the phrase extending plays. That's what Ben does.
Third touchdown pass of the day from Ben Roethlisberger. And he and his good friend Max Starks celebrate. 24-14, Pittsburgh. Aerial coverage of the stadium, which is covering today's game, provided by MetLife.
I love the screen space in the middle here, where you can set up a tent to cover your grill and your tailgating area before the game. There are thousands of people out there tailgating. Kind of a nice design feature.
This whole stadium is a nice design feature.
Yeah, it really is.
Rod Stevens howling. Going to run this one from 8 yards deep in the end zone. Penalty markers fly as he makes it out to the 24.
During the return, holding, number 98, half the distance.
And this is going to back the Cardinals up.
Arizona.
Hey, how about number 1 against number 2 in 2 weeks? Saturday, November 5th in prime time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Number 1 LSU, number 2 Alabama. The fur may fly a little bit in that one, don't you think?
Well, after the shakeup this past weekend, there can't be any doubt that those are the 2 best football teams in the United States. And of course, there's Patrick Peterson, the #1 draft pick of the Cardinals, who last year was playing for the Tigers of LSU.
Regular.
And Les Miles.
#1.
So Cobb and the offense begin now at their own 7-yard line.
Greg, how many NFL scouts do you think will be at that game?
If they can get it to them. Cobb got rid of it.
Well, are they going to let him get away with that? That it's not intentional grounding? Because intentional grounding in the end zone is a safety.
You betcha.
That would be 2 points. They're going to. Larry Fitzgerald's arguing that somebody was nearby.
Intentional grounding. Number 4, the quarterback. Ball was thrown while in the pocket with no eligible receiver in the area. Result, safety.
And there is no receiver there.
No. And that's 2 points. Now here's Lamar Woodley. The important thing is he didn't get faked off his feet. You know, right here, that little shoulder fake by Cobb didn't impress him at all. And Woodley kept coming, and Cobb had nowhere to go. And that's a good call there by Cameron Hayward.
Well, sometime this afternoon, the Cardinals may want to get a body on Lamar Woodley.
And you can see that that's Cobb's 3rd penalty this season for intentional grounding. But boy, when you do it in the end zone. So Lamar Woodley gets credit for a sack, and he gets credit for a safety.
And the Steelers will get the ball back.
And Robin is playing like Batman. That's Aaron Smith right there.
For Pittsburgh, 9 points in the last 12 seconds of play.
Well, you can't give a guy like Lamar Woodley a free run at your quarterback. If he's the hot guy, that's the wrong guy to have hot. In other words, the hot guy is an unblocked guy. That's not cool.
Zastudil with the free kick. This is Antonio Brown. Up the sideline and out of bounds, close to midfield. The 48-yard line.
Well, that's one of the tough parts about the safety is that you have to kick the ball away, but you got to do it from a negative yardage position of doing it all the way back there at the 20. And it's again now the Steelers come out of this with good field position.
And now we're getting it backed up to the 25-yard line.
I'm assuming he stepped out of bounds at the 25. Was there a penalty? If there was, I didn't hear John Perry make the announcement.
You know, it wouldn't be far off just guessing that there might be a flag. This is Llewellyn Moore. And Moore brought down at about the 33 or 34-yard line.
Well, we're being told from the truck that there was a holding call on the return.
There was just no holding announcement.
We've grown so accustomed to the referee getting on the mic and explaining the situation.
You know what?
We become dependent.
You can't blame John Perry if he's a little tired today.
Well,
he's been doing it a lot.
He might have laryngitis.
94 is down.
We have 14 total penalties in this game so far. 8 on the Cardinals, 6 on the Steelers.
Roethlisberger escaping trouble again and throwing, and it's incomplete.
Oh, was that close for Richard Marshall. Man, he had it in his hands. He's thinking to himself, what do I have to do? But again, Roethlisberger stays alive, gets out of the pocket. He batted it to himself with the right hand. But that was just good coverage by Marshall. He just was all over Emmanuel Sanders.
And once again, Roethlisberger doing magical things on his feet.
He evaded about 3 different people to get rid of that ball.
On 3rd and 7. He avoids trouble again and drops it off to Redmond. Redmond with a first down out to about the 37, maybe the 38-yard line.
See, that just goes down to the stat sheet. Roethlisberger to Redmond for a first down. But look what Ben does to get this pass off. I mean, he steps up. He steps back to his right. And the whole time, he's searching for somebody. Doesn't find anybody downfield, but he goes to Isaac Redmond, his outlet. The stat sheet will not reflect the quality of that play by Ben Roethlisberger.
For the 17th time in his career, he eclipses 300 yards passing in a game. Moore to about the 43, a pickup of about 5. It'll be 2nd and 5.
Boy, Mewelde Moore that time cut back all the way on the other side of Heath Miller, who was a tight end lined up on the left side. That's a mega cutback. Of course, Ken Whisenhunt so many years he was with the Steelers for years and catapulted from that job to the head coach of the Cardinals. He's seen this before.
Even had a little bit of a famous dust-up with Ben Roethlisberger. This is Moore, and Moore has a first down.
Yeah, Greg, you bring that up. That a lot of people. Ben admitted, I chafed a little bit under Whisenhunt. I'd say to Ken, I'm uncomfortable with this play. Now, these were Ben's first couple of years in the league. He'd say, I'm uncomfortable with that play, and Whisenhunt's response was, I don't care. You're going to run it anyway. It was certainly a tough love situation. But Ben goes, hey, I want this out there to anybody that thinks they're hard feeling. I invited him to my wedding this summer. I wanted him to be there when I got married. We play golf together.
Ben told us it was a case of him being young and dumb. Roethlisberger with time. Running out of time now, and here's Mendenhall. Mendenhall to midfield and bounced out of bounds at about the 47-yard line of the Arizona Cardinals.
Boy, great job by Rashard Mendenhall of fighting for extra yardage along that sideline and not taking the easy way out. He had a heck of a collision over there with Washington, but he's fought to stay in bounds. Look at the again, another outlet find by Roethlisberger. But look right there. Look how what a good job. He picks up another 5 yards by staying in bounds.
And with that, we come to the end of the 3rd quarter. Pittsburgh 26, Arizona 14. We're coming back to Arizona after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. For the start of the 4th quarter with our producer Mark Wolf, our director Bob Fishman, Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, and the rest of our CBS Sports crew. 26-14 Steelers.
You see the Steelers had the ball the entire 3rd quarter.
And they operate now from the Arizona 46. Roethlisberger this side of the field. That is complete to Mike Wallace. And Wallace out of bounds just inside of the 35-yard line. Some of the happenings around the National Football League today. Perhaps the biggest story, Tim Tebow in his first start leads a comeback win in overtime. The Texans respond to a challenge from their owner, Bob McNair, and Plaxico Burress with 3 touchdown catches as the Jets come back to beat the San Diego Chargers.
The surprise there for me are the Texans and the Titans. I thought they were pretty evenly matched teams. I didn't expect a Houston rout.
Roethlisberger to the 25-yard line, and the diving catch made by Heath Miller.
Ben got buried. Oh, did he take a hit? And he threw that thing to Heath Miller falling backwards. You think this guy's got a strong arm? I mean, he can't step into it. He is flat-footed. This is chuck and duck. And he puts it right on Heath Miller's hands. And he took a huge, huge shot from Schofield.
From the 25, this is Mendenhall. Mendenhall trying to turn the corner. And out of bounds at about the 15-yard line. Also around the NFL today. Get the numbers. You know, you remember 2 weeks ago, Hulk Hogan came out and really ripped Tim Tebow, and I was thinking to myself, I must have been out of the country when Hulk Hogan, when people cared what he thought about anything other than play acting in a fake sport.
Arian Foster over 100 again, Plaxico Burress, and you're right about that. Hey, Tim Tebow, you got to admit, he incites a reaction from just about everybody on the planet.
Roethlisberger. Oh, and the whistle blows.
They are actually going to, John Perry is going to rule him in the grass, but
the rookie Sam Acho from Texas had him around the legs. You know, for anybody else that might apply, but it doesn't seem to apply for Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, you know, there's been so much talk about quarterbacks, you know, taking a pounding and everything like that. I'm going to assume that John Perry regrets having blown that whistle. Because Ben Roethlisberger, it's grasp and control, and he was not under control.
Wallace. Incomplete inside the 5. Adrian Wilson helping out Peterson.
Well, that was a pretty good throw by Ben Roethlisberger, but there's no way that Mike Wallace didn't know that Adrian Wilson was on his way there. And it is awfully tough to concentrate on a football when you know one of the biggest safeties in the league is right there. But that was a really good throw from Ben Roethlisberger.
3rd and 15. Got rid of it. This is Redmond, and Redmond is pulled down by Calais Campbell.
And Ben Roethlisberger is, man, he's paying a price for this Pittsburgh lead so far. They're up by a dozen. But he has had to pick himself up and dust himself off a bunch of times this afternoon. He has had to evade a pretty steady stream of Cardinals coming after him.
Sweezum will try this one from 47 yards out. Well, all kinds of things happened there.
Was that Peterson again?
Peterson jumped offside and then tried to call a timeout.
Offside. Defense. 21. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Well, it's certainly not going to give Pittsburgh a first down, but it moves them 5 yards closer.
Timeout.
I don't. Man, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen that before.
I don't think I have. Hey, give him credit.
I got a better idea. Why don't you try to get back over on the other side of the line of scrimmage in a hurry instead of trying to call a timeout?
So now Sweezum from 42.
And Sweezum thinking to himself, I love a dome.
11.5 minutes to play in a game that the Cardinals have to be starting to think is getting awfully long. And they need to do something about a 29-14 deficit. Sweezum to kick, Larod Stevens howling to return if he gets the chance. And he will. Out to about the 13-yard line. Good coverage by the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger having himself a superlative afternoon.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AT&T. Get it faster with 4G. Rethink possible. Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
And that's how we spent our weekend in Arizona. How about you?
I can tell you one thing. Every time I've ever ridden a horse, neither one of us enjoyed the experience.
For the third straight possession, Arizona starts inside its own 20-yard line. What a day. What a couple of weeks Lamar Woodley has enjoyed.
Yeah, he has really picked up the slack without James Harrison on the other side. And this was against the Titans. You can see he just grabs two guys, including Matt Hasselbeck. Then Gabbard goes down, and he just terrorized him last week. And then today, there's one sack. There's two sacks. And then he forces the safety in the end zone, and it resulted in a safety, but technically he doesn't get credit for the sack, even though it would have been a sack if it wouldn't have been intentional grounding.
Cobb under pressure. Batted back in his face. Update time from New York. James Brown, Bill Cowher, take it away, guys.
Carson Palmer's debut notwithstanding, it's been all KC.
Yeah, 7 of 17, 86 yards, but you see this pick by Brandon Flowers, 58 yards. Carson Palmer having to work off some of the rust.
Kansas City working over Oakland. Back to Greg and Dan.
This is such a strange and unpredictable lead at times.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, guys. Third and 10.
Let me know when you get it figured out.
I'm sure Hulk Hogan will tell me. Incomplete. Bounce it to Larry Fitzgerald.
And Kevin Cobb is
hearing it.
He's hearing it coming off. And again, this is, you just have to keep telling yourself how inexperienced this guy is, even though it's his 5th year in the league. Backed up McNabb, he backed up Michael Vick. He's got to be a starter for a while, got a concussion, lost his grip on that job in Philadelphia.
And this is where he wanted to be.
Yeah.
This is Antonio Brown from his own 30.
He's got some room.
All the way back to the Arizona 42 or 43-yard line.
And I think he tripped over Ryan Mundy, didn't he? He had Ryan Mundy out in front of him making a block, and I think he tripped on his feet.
57-yard punt, 23-yard return. Welcome back to this beautiful facility in Glendale, Arizona. At first glance, you might think you're in Pittsburgh, not necessarily the case. On first down, Rashawn Mendenhall to about the 38. A reminder for you, Tuesday on CBS. Can a cop who remembers everything solve a crime without a victim? Don't miss a new episode of TV's #1 new drama, Unforgettable, Tuesday, only CBS. You know what you love about this place? One of the many things, the rollaway floor.
Well, I'm fascinated by it. When I first heard about it, when this building was being built, talked to Michael Bidwell, who runs the franchise, and when he said, we're going to have a grass field that slides outside, lives outside, I went, you got to be kidding me.
Mendenhall still on his feet to about the 32-yard line.
Yeah, this is a dome with a movable roof, but this field lives outdoors. And then when they want to play football, it takes a little over an hour, but here it comes. This thing sits on like a giant cookie sheet, and it just slides right on in. They line it. It's got a built-in irrigation system, and when it sits outside, they just hook it up to the water supply out there.
Honesty compels us to say that it doesn't move that fast.
No, it takes a little over an hour to do so.
56.
To the miracle of television, they sped it up.
3rd and 2. This is Redmond. Redmond looking for a first down and appears to have it inside the 30-yard line. So this is an Arizona team that, you know, and everyone we talk to, they admitted, Dan, they're still trying to find their way.
Well, it's a new quarterback, an entirely new defensive system, not just a new coordinator, which they have, but an entirely new system going from a 4-3 to a 3-4. He's putting in a very complicated scheme, the exact same scheme that the Steelers run, but that is not a scheme that you put in a matter of weeks.
False start. Number 85. Offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
And Dan, Darnell Dockett, you said it earlier, a very fine tight end, has found it very difficult to adjust and frustrating.
Well, yeah, I mean, Darnell Dockett is their best defensive lineman, but, you know, when you go from, you know, a 4-3 defensive tackle or end where you're playing on the shoulder, you're playing that outside technique, to now having to play a defensive end where your job is to occupy two people. You're right, Dockett is going, it requires a patience that I'm struggling to learn.
Mendenhall trips and falls at about the 32.
Well, that time Darnell Dockett did a pretty good knifing move, and you can see he gets to the inside of Marcus Gilbert, the right tackle. But this play, Gilbert was fine with that because this play was designed to go to the outside. But Dockett knew that he had contained working to his outside. Darnell Dockett, a 3-time Pro Bowler. Pretty solid football player. And what did he say when we talked to him? He said, you know, I'm just weird.
Second and 13. Roethlisberger over the middle, incomplete. You know, Dockett also said the conversation about Ben Roethlisberger was they've been emphasizing to tackle Ben's arm because tackling him below the waist is a lost cause.
Well, that time, that incompletion was forced because Paris Lennon, the linebacker, got Ben from the backside while he was in the act of throwing. And again, Ben has paid a price today. You can see that he's in the middle of throwing that thing. The hand was going forward, so that's an incomplete pass. But Ben Roethlisberger has been on the ground a fair piece today.
Third and 13 from the shotgun. That's complete close to the 20-yard line to Mike Wallace, but he's just a tad short of a first down.
Ben hurrying everybody up there. He's acting like they're going to go for it.
Or perhaps preventing a challenge.
Or see if he can draw them off sides. We almost got him there. A little gamesmanship here by Ben. He has no intention of running the play.
Hey, give him credit. He's keeping it. He's trying. And a timeout. Pittsburgh uses its second timeout. 6:51 to play in the fourth.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway. Go bold with breakfast and try the Sunrise Subway Melt today. And by In Time. Friday, only in theaters.
.651 to play. On 4th and 2, Sweezum from 39 yards out. He's been good today from 41 and from 42 yards. And that one is also good. Pittsburgh extends its lead to 32-14. They have hit the Cardinals with 15 unanswered points, and it's doubleheader Sunday. Next week here on CBS, Dan and I will be in New York as the Giants play host to the Miami Dolphins. Late, New England at Pittsburgh, Cleveland at San Fran, Cincinnati at Seattle, and it all begins, as always, with the NFL Today at noon Eastern Time.
Well, you saw when Sweezum kicked that field goal that where the ball was placed was illuminated. The stadium has these side lights up above the various decks, but as the sun gets lower in the sky, as we move more towards winter, it comes through there, and during the course of the game late in the day, it'll light up some spots like somebody's got a spotlight on it. By the way, that Pittsburgh-New England game next week, what a matchup that is, and it's back-to-back big boys for the Steelers as they host the Patriots, and then the following week they host the Ravens. That's a tall order, back-to-back New England and Baltimore.
Rod Stevens Howling will run this one out of the end zone from 2 yards deep. 20. And out of bounds at about the 30-yard line.
Well, this was a year ago. We got the Patriots and the Steelers. That's Rob Gronkowski catching a touchdown. Here he goes again. How much does Tom Brady love this guy? And then that's something you don't see every day. Tom Brady doing it himself. And there's James Sanders picks up the carom and a 39-26 New England win. And you know that there's things like home field advantage and all sorts of playoff ramifications involved when those two AFC heavyweights duke it out.
Danny Wells left this game in the first half and has not returned to the field since. Kevin Cobb complete to Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald first down yardage and then some close to midfield before Troy Polamalu drags him down.
Greg, we talked to players all around the league. Not many times do you encounter a class act quite the level of Larry Fitzgerald.
Disgustingly polite and friendly.
Yes. And oh, so good.
Cobb outside, and that is complete and out of bounds to DeMarco Sampson, a rookie out of San Diego State.
And this team desperately needs to develop someone on the other side to lighten the load so that Larry Fitzgerald isn't doubled and triple teamed. And whether that's Andre Roberts or Early Doucette, whoever's going to step up. And it must seem like a long time ago for Larry Fitzgerald when Anquan Bolden was on the other side, when Steve Breston was running the slot, and on the other side it's not that way now. Somebody's got to step up.
Cobb, Fitzgerald to the 25.
You can see coming into today, that's, you know, Larry's production all by himself there on the left, and then all the other wide receivers on the Cardinals roster is on the right. You know, this is a team that at one time, Bolden and Fitzgerald might have been the best combo in the league. There was, if they weren't the best, they were in the conversation maybe with one other group, but I'm not sure. At one time, well, I thought with Breston being such a good return man, and then Bolden and Fitzgerald, that was the best receiving core in football.
Fitzgerald came into this game #1 in Cardinals franchise history in receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. He's had 28 career 100-yard receiving games. Today, he's 4 catches for 78 yards. 2nd and 10. Cobb throws it up, has a man, and it's out of bounds. Andre Roberts,
way out of bounds. I think the only thing you can say out here in the desert is that Kevin Cobb has his fans. Andy Reid thought the world of him. Andy Reid made him the starter in Philadelphia. That's the belief that he had in him. Wisenhunt has belief in Kevin Cobb. And there may be some patience necessary here as we watch what happens with him. But he's got his fans and management.
Cobb gets a block, throws, complete inside the 20 to the 15 is Early Doucette. And even Cobb admits he's still working to find his own routine here in Arizona.
Well, he goes, even my footwork, all my footwork here is exactly, not opposite, but that ball was deflected. But he goes, it's so different. Every one of my drops is at a different depth. And I find myself falling back into old habits. It's hard to overcome that.
Keeps it on the ground on 4th and 1 and has a first down at about the 13.
When you have to change everything about the way you've played before, it's just not an easy process. I'm not making excuses for him. He's made his fair share of mistakes, but I think there's also some upside, some real flashes of good stuff there.
Cobb, incomplete. Intended for Andre Roberts. He even said he's working out things like how much film to watch. Is it too much? Is it too little? He still has to work that out.
And now keep in mind, you know, as of right now, he's 15 of 31. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 259 yards. Keep in mind, folks, coming into this game, this is the #1 defense in the National Football League by yardage. They're #1, the pass defense, by a nice margin. They're #1 in the NFL. So this is, this isn't just the other team down the street. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
On 2nd and 10, Cobb escapes trouble. Looking, throws complete, and out of bounds at about the 10-yard line is LaRod Stevens howling. And 4:03 remaining. A reminder, coming up, time permitting, after the game, the Subway postgame show. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher will have all the very latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Subway postgame show.
Well, if we can get the Cardinals to stick it in the end zone here, these last 4 minutes might get a little exciting. An onside kick, but Cardinals still have all 3 of their timeouts left.
3rd and 7. Cobb out battered, complete, and out of bounds is Andre Roberts at about the 3. And right at the first down marker, it'll be 1st and goal. Those of you expecting to see 60 Minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, our game between the Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf and our CBS Sports crew. 60 Minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast. 32-14, Steelers in the lead. We are just under 4 minutes to play. 1st and goal.
Man out!
Cobb, touchdown.
Cardinals got to go for 2, I would think.
Early Doucette with the touchdown catch. And they will go for 2.
Yeah. And that was just a lapse in the Steeler coverage, but Cobb did a good job of identifying who was uncovered and getting the football in a hurry, and that was made pretty easy. But you're down by 12. The magic 2-point chart says this is a go for 2 situation. Try to make it a 10-point game.
Alfonso Smith, the only back behind Cobb.
Yellow.
Play fake. Cobb looking, running out of time, and throws incomplete.
When it's a 2-point conversion, throw it somewhere where maybe you even get lucky and somebody can catch it in the field of play. Nobody's going to catch it out of bounds.
Now, you brought this up to Kevin Kolb. In fact, you brought this up to Coach Wisenhunt, too. If there was anybody who would have used the extra work during the summer when the player lockout took place, it was the guys on this team.
Yes, and that goes for every other team in the league that's trying to put in a new system. And that was a pretty good throw by Cobb, going right into the lens of our camera. Our man John Bruno down there took one for the team.
No, actually, I think he let the camera take one for the team. I don't think he's got a bruise on it.
Well, certainly the Cardinals now with under 4 minutes, they got to go for an onside kick. Seeing you need 2 touchdowns now to take the lead in this game. I don't know that you have, even though you have all 3 timeouts, I'm not sure I would count on being able to get the ball back real quickly from the Steelers.
And even if you do, as we mentioned earlier, this is not just another defense. Going to kick it deep. Going to let the Steelers start from their 20-yard line. Let's check in once again with James Brown, Bill Cowher in New York, guys.
Minnesota within 6 of Green Bay.
Yeah, Greg and Dan, Minnesota may find their quarterback of the future, Christian Ponder, 11 of 25, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but they pull within 6 of Green Bay, 33-27.
Capping a 10-play, 93-yard drive. Back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deardorff.
Hey, JB, I wonder if Coach Cowher's ears were burning and we were talking with all of the Steelers and the ex-Steeler coaches this weekend here in Arizona.
He might recognize it. This is like watching. This is like watching his children play on both sides of the ball. I mean, who does Bill root for here? His disciples are everywhere.
Isaac Redmond, running room up the middle, first down yardage, out to about the 34-yard line.
That's why I'd have gone for the onside kick. This is even though there's all sorts of offensive line injuries, Bill Cowher was an expert at this. He knew how to take the air out of the football.
56-51.
The cast of characters has changed. It's not Jerome Bettis anymore, but it's still the same principle.
Black 80. Black it up.
Quick pass. Antonio Brown. First down across the 45.
And now Wisenhunt's going to take a timeout now and stop the clock.
So Arizona uses its first of 3 remaining with 3:04 to play here in the fourth quarter. Passing numbers today.
Well, again, the one turnover by Kevin Cobb directly led to a Steelers touchdown. Another banner day for Big Ben. Still, Beanie Wells, he left in the first half and hasn't been seen since with a knee strain, a right knee strain. They never did get Mendenhall loose. And you see the 3 receptions for 118 by Mike Wallace. That includes one of them for 95 yards.
Add to that Antonio Brown with 7 catches for 102.
Yeah, when you got 2 receivers going over the century mark. But again, the Cardinals didn't allow Pittsburgh. They got a couple, a little run for a first down by Mendenhall here just 2 plays ago. But still, the Steelers under 80 yards rushing for the game. That's good work by the Cardinals defense.
Welding Moore brought down, and as the clock continues to move, we'll remind you tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and Steve Jobs' life story, followed by a new Amazing Race, The Good Wife, and CSI Miami tonight, only CBS.
How fitting that you do a promo for 60 Minutes, and the play of the game was turned in by Mike Wallace.
Arizona has used its second time out, and that's how Ben Roethlisberger has distributed the ball today.
And we talked earlier about the, Hines, Ward, and the kids. Heath Miller is certainly not a kid anymore. He's been doing it for a long time. But there is so much young talent on this football team, and Hines Ward has taken it upon himself. He's their mentor, their father figure, their source of a lot of quality information.
Redmond. We asked Hines Ward if he still watches Dancing with the Stars. Absolutely.
Oh, of course.
He is as fun-loving a guy as there is.
And and the nice thing about it is I talked about him being a mentor to his defensive back, but I mean the receivers. But look at this. He's mentoring the entire team on how to samba and how the paso roble or whatever they are.
This is behind the scenes of a shampoo commercial. Hines Ward caught doing the cha-cha with Troy Polamalu and then Brett Kiesel.
You mean this isn't what they ordinarily do in the locker room?
This is Tuesday at Pittsburgh practice.
I'm sure Hines insisted on leading. He's just that kind of guy. He's not going to be happy we aired that.
No.
There's Brett Kiesel with his real beard.
Can you win a dancing competition with a partner who's got a beard?
I can't think about it. Kiesel, he's the only guy I know that wears a beard extension.
3rd and 4. Oh, catch is made. Nice throw by Roethlisberger. Caught by Emmanuel Sanders. First down.
You know, you don't have to just run the football to kill the clock when you got a quarterback that you have confidence in like Ben Roethlisberger. And this is more than a little frustrating for the Cardinals that they chose not to do an onside kick, kicked it away, and now they can't get the ball back.
Arizona has used its third and final timeout. This is Moore to the outside. Penalty markers fly. Boy, look at all the handkerchiefs on the field. I count 3 of them.
Holding, number 83, offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Heath Miller must have come up with a hold that could be seen all the way to Flagstaff. Everybody's.
Well, when you're the tight end, you're right out there on the edge. You don't have the luxury a lot of times of being hidden by all the guards and tackles and in that big clutter in the middle. And you're right, it must have been a beaut.
Some footage of you throwing a block here and there. What? As you were wont to do. I believe we have something of you throwing a pass.
At least I never held it.
Yeah, you never held anything. This is more.
He stays in bounds. Yeah, Hines Ward might not be too happy with us showing that footage at a commercial.
Well, that play will take us to the 2-minute warning. And with 2 minutes to play and a 32-20 lead, the Pittsburgh Steelers dancing their way to a 5-2 record.
Just 2-minute warning.
Not a bad day for number 7. 25 of 38 for 351 yards, 3 touchdowns. And you recall early in the season kind of had a penchant for turning the ball over. Not lately. No. Out here to Emmanuel Sanders. A reminder, tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and Steve Jobs' life story, followed by A New Amazing Race, The Good Wife, and CSI Miami tonight, only CBS.
Well, the Cardinals have no more timeouts remaining, so the clock will continue to run. You know, Ben has had a great day today through the air with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. And while he's only been sacked a couple times, that's really not indicative of how many times he hit the ground.
Right.
He took some pretty good pops today.
And Ben will take the snap here. I was talking earlier about my broadcast partner Dan Beardorf, and a member of the Ring of Honor here in Arizona, and flash back to his playing days.
Oh, stop it.
Where are you? Number 72. Lead the way.
Yeah, that's
Go get him. Boom!
That was at old Soldier Field.
Looking like your normal pleasant self.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I played my whole career for this franchise, and even though it was in St. Louis, not here in Glendale, Arizona, it's still
the franchise.
Yeah, it's still the same group, the Bidwell family, and a lot of wonderful memories.
Black box. Black box.
And with that snap, the Pittsburgh Steelers will move to 5-2 on the year and extend the Cardinals' losing streak to 5 in a row. They won their opener against Carolina and have lost now to Washington, Seattle, the Giants, Minnesota, and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And Ken Wisenhunt, a lot of friends on that Steeler coaching staff, but boy, it's going to be a tough week out here in the desert. He's going to have to answer a lot of questions about what direction this team's headed.
And you know, Mike Tomlin loved this road trip. Once again, our final score, Pittsburgh 32 and Arizona 20. For Dan Deerdorf and the rest of our crew, Greg Gumbel. So long from the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Coming up tonight, CBS with 60 Minutes, New Amazing Race, The Good Wife, CSI Miami. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.